Hi, you're listening to audio by the Vive. For more info on how to get connected, tap the link to our website or Instagram in the show notes below.
Hey guys, I'm Megan and I'm in 10th grade and I've been going to the Vive. And this is my friend Haelee.
Hi guys, I'm Haelee. I'm in 9th grade and I go to Baylor in Vive too.
So since we're talking about like anxiety and how that can overcome your life and stuff like that, like what does that look like for you in your life?
I think that has definitely been something that I think I've been set free from. And I know that was a big part of my testimony, that I remember at the Vive, one of the first messages I really remember is, or it might have been from Vive Camp, but it was, before Jesus I was, and now I am this.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
yes.
I really liked that one.
Me too. I think Sam did it. He did really good. And I remember my thing that I wrote down was, before Jesus, I was lost and filled with worry. But then I came to the Vive, I fell in love with Jesus, and now I am found and filled with joy.
I love that.
And then the next question you ask after is, do you have a story like that? So I think it's been a big part of my testimony, and I'm very grateful that is something that I still struggle with, worries and all of that, but it's not something that controls my life anymore. And it was a big part of my story. So just seeing Jesus work in that way in my life has just been really cool. So, yeah.
I also feel like it's very easy, like, for people that, you know, don't believe in Jesus or are just, like, starting to believe in Jesus. Like, it's very easy for us to believe, or for other people to believe, like, once you're with Jesus, like, all the anxiety, all the depression is just going to go away and stuff like that. But my next question for you is just, like, what does anxiety look like in your friendships, and, like, how did that just, like, overcome your life, and how has that affected your life in general?
Okay, I think you talking about that reminds me of when Jesus is in the boat with his disciples, and this storm is going on, and it's like all raging around them, and they're really worried because Jesus is asleep, and they're like waking up and freaking out about it. But then he's like, "Why were you worrying? Like, I'm right here beside you." And I think there's so much power in our lives with that he's not only right beside us, but when we accept him, he's in our hearts, living with us and walking with us. And that doesn't mean that the storms won't happen.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't mean like I won't ever get worried again, but like he's still with me. And I just think in my friendships and in school and all the things, like it is worries, or there are like worries that I have, and obviously small things that are just like, oh, what are people thinking about me? Like, oh, did I word that wrong? Like, I don't want to lead people away, or just small things like that.
Yeah.
Or school. I think that's a big thing for me, like taking harder classes this year, just like just getting it all done and making good grades and doing well in my sport. Like, we both play lacrosse and all of that, but just I think they come up in small worries, but also a heart posture I try to have is, when I feel that, just directing it back to God and being like, God, this may be hard, but like I'm finding my rest in you. I'm finding my peace in you, my comfort. And those worries can just help me need to like lean into God for that peace.
And I loved how whenever you were talking about like the disciples and like them being in the boat with Jesus and them being scared because of the storm and stuff like that, like I love how like it's like they're like the disciples, like the people that followed Jesus, like they followed Jesus and they believe in him, and they were still like scared, you know. And I feel like that's just like a really good representation of like, we can follow Jesus and like we can be really close with Jesus, but then if we're like walking through a storm in our life, we're kind of we still like fall short, you know. We're still like what's your plan, that kind of thing. My next question is how, like, what advice would you give to people that are like trying to overcome anxiety? Like, I know that you said that you're like still overcoming it like to this day and stuff like that, but like like what has helped you?
I think there's a verse. I'm good. I like memorizing verses, but I'm kind of bad with like the little like tags with them, like what they're from. But it's, cast all your anxieties on him, for he cares for you. So just really like in that anxiety, like when you're going through those things, this may seem, just like pressing into God and using that as like a reason to lean into him, because we need him. And like you said, we've all fallen short. Like we're not going to achieve but we're not going to like have that peace if it's not through Christ. And I've like tried to find peace by like doing other things, like trying to like, oh, what are they thinking about me? Well, if I do this, if I say these things, if I dress this way, maybe like all my friends, just like it's just gonna leave you like with more thoughts and worries, and it just like it's not gonna bring you freedom from that.
Yeah.
I think if you can memorize just like a verse that you can hold on to, and God's promises, you can just see them work in your life. And I think that has had a really big impact on me, and also through prayer, because Jesus, like he says, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give. That's John something, John 16 maybe. But I just think he wants us to have his peace. He loves us. His heart for us is just like, we can't even comprehend how much he loves us. And he wants that peace for us so that we don't have to feel all the anxieties and struggles and worries. Like, cast all your anxieties on him, for he cares for you. I know I said that a second ago, but he cares for you, and he is here. He wants to help you through this. So have you seen that in your life, like any ways like that?
I've always kind of been, I guess, like an anxious person. I don't know, like I kind of just like always worried about stuff like that, like sports. Anxiety really likes to creep in with like sports and lacrosse and stuff, just because there is like so much pressure. And then also like in school, I've just kind of talked about this with Evan. I'm not really afraid to not please other people, I guess, but I'm just worried about pleasing myself. And like, I guess I kind of just hold myself to a higher standard. And so it can get really hard, you know, like I want to do really good in lacrosse, but I want to do good in school, but I want to have a relationship with God, and I want to have all these friends, and I want to have this relationship with a boy. Like, it can just be like so much stuff that is just so overbearing. It can just be like so stressful. And so like, I just wanted to ask you, like, how can anxiety like creep in like different areas of your life? Like you were talking about like lacrosse, like that kind of thing, or like school, friends, that kind of thing.
I definitely relate to that, because I think there can be things that are good things, like your friends and relationships and sports like lacrosse we both play, and school, like working hard in that. I think they can all be good things, but when it's so much piled up on top of each other, it can get to be a little overwhelming. So I think that can be something for me. If I'm not spending time in the Word, I can tell the difference. Like if I'm not making time for it, then my day is just not as, I think my perspective really shifts, like just coming at it with the eyes, just like a heart, like seeking God and like trying to find him in all of it. That can just like having that quiet time, whether it's like before bed or in the morning when you first wake up, or on the ride to school, like whatever it is for you. I think that is one way that helps me get through it. But it's just all the little things just add up, and then it gets to be a lot, and it can be overwhelming.
So like, besides getting in the Word, like what are like little ways that help you like start off your day right? Like for me, like on my way to school, like every single day I listen to worship music, and it's kind of just like a thing that I do, and it puts me in a better mood because school is school. So like, what's like little things that you do, or like little things that just like remind you that like it's gonna be okay?
I definitely do that too. I love worship music. I have like hours and hours long playlists. You can just like scroll for so long, but that is something that's really impactful for me. Just like filling my mind with like those things, like because like I think it's also, I enjoy listening to like other music too. But then it's also the whole thing where it's like,
you don't want to listen to like bad music,
right? Because it's like, this might sound a little harsh, but like trash in, trash out. So like what you're allowing yourself to like be in, and like, I don't know, marinate sounds really weird, but like whatever you're like living in and dwelling in,
letting like get in your head.
Yes, like that is going to show like through. And I think also podcasts are a thing for me. I listen to Sadie Robertson's podcast.
I love Sadie Robertson.
I love her so much.
I could watch her sermon for hours.
I know. I listen to her podcast so much. So that's just cool that we can like be doing this here right now. Just hopefully like it can touch people in that way too.
Yeah.
But that has had a big impact on me. Just like those words and her wisdom, and just being able, like, what God's put on her heart. That's a good way. Like her whole thing is like being a sister and a friend to those who might not have one. So like hopefully like we can be doing that also in like maybe a smaller way, but just having an impact. Like if someone doesn't have that friend where they necessarily like, oh, I want to like talk to them, just like having these conversations with people who may not have like that person.
Yeah. And also like with podcasts, like one thing that I love about podcasts, I listen to a lot of Christian podcasts, but also just like random podcasts. Like I just like it. Like I feel like I'm like having a conversation with him, but I don't have to like actually say anything, and it's just like them speaking, and I just like feel like I'm kind of like in the room with them. My next question is like, how did your like prayer life start to evolve whenever you, I guess, started like getting closer in your walk with God, and like anxiety kind of started to dwell down, I guess is the right word, in your life? Like how did prayer life, How did your prayer life evolve?
I think one thing that I realized and I was super convicted about is I'm a person where I will be like, hey, how can I be praying for you? And then they'll tell me.
And then you don't.
Yes. And then I forget. And I will like maybe pray for them once or just like, I'll be like, oh, I'll do it later. And then I realized that it was about a year ago. Someone was talking about in a leadership retreat from Vive how we can't be people who say like, how can I pray for you? And then not pray for them.
Right. It's
And
like
I was
following
like,
through.
Right. And I was like, oh shoot, that's me. Like that's something I do a lot. So one practical step for me, and it may not look like this for everyone, but I have a prayer journal and I have like different like headings for each page, and it's like I'll write them down, and every time I pray I will circle it. And that is not just like, I will just pray like walking to class, or I will pray like in the mornings in the car, or just like certain things like that. So that's not like everything I have, but like I think being able to have time to like sit down and be intentional with it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like when someone tells me something, being like, okay, I'm gonna write this down and I'm gonna pray for them. And I don't want to just like be once, but like pray for them and also like check up on them, like, hey, I know you told me about like this and this, like how can that? And I think also that has changed, just like praying for people has just changed how I see people, I think, and just having a heart of just seeking, like wanting to see people like Jesus sees them. And I think that can, like, prayer, we talked about the power of prayer a little bit ago. I think it was either in church or it was during Vive, and it was just how like we should be people that pray for each other and how impactful that can be for other people and how God can work in their life, but also like God will work in our hearts too. So I've definitely seen that in my life.
I've also like, this is not really talking about anxiety, this is kind of like off to the side, but like I also was talking to my friend about like having like seeing Jesus how other people see Jesus, because that is definitely something that I struggle with. And I feel like as girls, you know, like we often not only judge ourselves but are quick to judge other people. So like what does that look like for you? Like are you one to like judge, or like how is, I guess, like getting into that prayer life and like being able to, you know, pray for other people, and like how has that like totally changed your perspective on other people? Because like for me, like being able to talk to God about like certain things and certain issues that I have in my life, like I know that like if I have a problem with a person, I can just like lay that down on Jesus's feet, and then there's like no beef between me and that person because I got to, you know, talk to Jesus about that. So like what does that look like for you?
I think that it's just like you were talking about, I think like as girls, just it shouldn't be like this, but it can be easy to judge, and that is something that I definitely struggled with and had to like check my heart a lot with, just being in a lot of prayer too. But Matthew 7 talks about how we shouldn't judge others, and one thing that I think is really interesting is like when you are judging someone else, like another person, you were judging someone that like Jesus died for.
Yeah,
like
God's creation.
Yes. Yeah. And if you think about it, we're not in any place to do that, because we have things we struggle with too, like sin. Our sin may look different from other people's, but it's all sin, and we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But I think it just judging others, I think it just, when you start praying for them, like we were talking about earlier with the whole prayer journal thing, just like writing down names of people you know, and just like, even if it's just a name, you don't have to write like a whole paragraph. Sometimes I do, but just like circling the name and just like saying a prayer with them, like, God, I pray that you can work in their life and you can meet them where they're at, and they'll just have a really good day today. Like that changes how I saw people. I just like, instead of looking, and maybe, this is a part about me that is like, I'm still like I always want to be seeking to be like Christ, but instead of being like I remember what they did like that one time, or what they're like, how they're like showing themselves or holding themselves as a little like odd. Instead of seeing that, it's just like, wow, that's like a person I'm praying for. That's a person Jesus loves. And I just think how you're talking about when people hurt you, like you're saying, when you bring it to God, like you can just find peace in that, like what we're talking about. It's just, if Jesus forgave them, I can forgive them too.
Right. I love that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much, Haelee. I'm so glad that we got to talk about anxiety and doubt and what that looks like in our walk with Christ. And we hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as we did.
Vive is Silverdale for 6th through 12th grade. We gather on Wednesday nights at 6:30 p.m. in Chattanooga, Tennessee at our Bonny Oaks, North Ooltewah, Apison, and St. Elmo campuses. We also have small groups on Sunday mornings at 9:30 and 11 a.m. on our Bonny Oaks campus. Thanks for hanging out.